Hey everybody, this is Lunch Hour VR with Max Noir and Edwin Rogers. Today we're here with Kevo or Kevin Ang, but most of you probably know him as Kevo. He is a super XR artist and world hopper and many of other things. And I would just like to start out the show by saying, hey, I'm sorry it's been so long.
Yeah,
But
it's been a
internet
while.
connections happen, quarantine happens, life happens. But yeah, I'd just like to say I'm glad to be back. And Kevo, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, both of you, and welcome back as well in your respective beautiful areas of the world. Yes.
Yeah, we've been traveling. That's probably what it is. You want to start with
we're,
you?
we're Sure. So I'm currently in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. Sort of just transplanted my quarantine with a couple other virtual reality friends. And yeah, we're just working and living remotely in a beautiful place. So that's
Yeah,
me.
yeah, I'm on volcano in Big Island of Hawaii.
Aloha.
Doing the same thing.
Right.
Exactly.
Hawaiian Christmas trees. They're the best.
My wife would not let me. I had to find a real tree. I had to find a real tree. I was
I was gonna say, I was gonna fill that blank. Let you live without getting those trees.
Kevo,
so
where in the world are you right now?
Foggy at this very moment. Foggy San Francisco. Like
oh,
it just got overcast as we were talking. I'm like, yeah, that tracks. That totally tracks. But it's still there.
We're bringing the weather.
that's warm and lovely. It's warm and lovely wherever we are. That's nice for December.
Exactly.
Awesome. Well, Kevo, would you mind giving a quick introduction of you and what you're up to these days?
No pressure. Okay, so you said world hopper earlier and XR artist. Both those things can actually
Super XR artist.
Oh yes, sorry. That's right. Thank you so much. Yeah, I got into XR art about 3-ish years ago, three something, and I've been a lifelong artist. But I always say that VR art and specifically the community that goes with it has always been um, probably the biggest passion igniter for me in my life because it introduced me to a whole new way of interacting with the medium, to um, crafting stories, for expressing myself in a whole new way, while also being truly inspired by my peers. Nothing has come close to that high, and that sort of the peace that also comes with knowing that my voice is stronger than ever as an artist. And the sort of my entree into the scene was falling in love with, at the time was Oculus Medium, which is now Adobe Medium. And I didn't realize that 3D was something that I could even fall in love with. So previous to this, I was, I've been working 20 years in the industry, mostly in commercial art. And it's been a lot of 2D, motion graphics, design, storyboarding, films, documentaries, broadcast design. Like there's a whole bunch of areas that like I've jumped into, different pools. But it was Medium, it was various different apps that sort of got me into the scene. Like there was a good half a year where I was just like a monk. Like I wasn't even diving into community yet. I was just learning programs. I'm like, what does this one do? What does Anim VR do? What does Quill do? What does Tilt Brush do? And then sort of once I got those sort of languages under my belt, I started really investigating like, well, where do these pipelines start going?
Mm-hmm.
How do they start actualizing into experiences? How does the community interact with them? And that's when communities started becoming a real thing for me. And a whole other aspect was helping to start a community called XR Artists online with my co-founder, Mez Breeze, who's out of Australia, who's also another lovely artist. And that began a whole other chapter of oh my God, I didn't realize this was a whole other thing I could love and be nurtured by. So that feedback cycle is always there. It's always in the background and inside of my spirit. It's always like this thing of like, well, how can I give back in some way and also still be very true to my artistic voice? Like those things are always happening at all times for me.
Do you want to show a little bit of your creative process?
Please do.
The video. So I'm going to show a little bit of your work, and I'm just really, really impressed. But please explain what we're looking at once we're done. Wow.
Yeah,
I got a bunch of questions.
Please ask away. Stop me from yammering about myself.
First of all, like I love the kind of like way you were doing the art. It kind of reminded me of Tai Chi, you know, and it seemed very meditative, but also creative at the same time. And then the dance at the end. How did you do the motion capture, and what engine did you use to have the model like mimic that? And was it real time?
That's a really good question. And that kind of like comes back to what I was saying earlier, that feedback cycle also involves tuning into my personal flow state. And usually that's informed a lot by dancing for me. So it's not just my hands, it's my whole body. So I'm really looking forward to some democratically cheaper solution to full body tracking, because that opens up a whole other area, right? The technology that was used for that is called Deep Motion. They're also out of San Francisco as far as concerned. And they are using machine learning, physics simulation, and AI to essentially like break down real-time footage without mocap sensors and everything. And I don't know if you have a newer clip where I used my own avatar on top of that, because that's like the generic robot that they use, but it really tracks one-to-one quite nicely. And it's just great. It's great. The things like that, that's the kind of stuff I live for. It's like as that tech gets better and better, it just, I mean, to the moon and beyond, essentially.
Yeah, I recently did the Epic Games Virtual Production Fellowship, and
nice.
You had to look into mocap solutions that are affordable and fast. So I'll definitely check that out, because it's really powerful to be able to, you know, do facial captures and performance captures inside of, well, the Unreal Engine from my example, but any game engine, and that I think is really going to be really exploding very, very soon.
Absolutely. That, and you know, avatar creation too, which is something I'm really jazzed by. I love being able to create. So at the very beginning of that, you saw my little gizmo shadowboxing, but that's me shadowboxing in Gizmo in VR chat. So VR chat has been a really great platform for me to start thinking about world creation, to think about like, how do I improve my avatar making skills? Because there's really like a whole pipeline for that as well. And thinking about, well, how does one go from A to B and still sort of like, where is my personality and all of that, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
What do you sort of see as the future of these avatars and the way that we interact with them?
The future. Well, right now in quarantine, I think it's been weirdly a lifesaver in some ways because, you know, it's not just the avatars, right? It's the avatars in relationship to your friends or strangers or people. So recently I went to because this whole year is about virtual conferences, right? So you have a whole genre of avatars to look at, whether or not it's alt space or Sansar or VR chat or you name it. There's a gradient at this point. But why I say it's sort of a lifesaver is because many of us still don't have the ability to just go out and have fun with our friends. And so in my case, there's a small crew of us. I have these friends up in Canada, Dylan, Scout, and John. Big shout out to them. And we very organically started our own. In fact, they didn't even start out as live streams. We just went out as a little crew in VR chat every week. And I had the initial stigma of VR chat being very toxic and, you know, what is it? Not Sonic the Hedgehog, but that other character was everywhere. And that was the thing that was in my mind, but it was totally just demystified, you know, in the last year because I started going on these adventures with them. And it was just truly, it's mind blowing every single week what I see in it. Yesterday, we visited a Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild world, like recreated in VR chat. And it has like the whole thing, like overlays, and you can interact with characters and you see bosses, and it's gorgeous. It's a gorgeous, gorgeous recreation. To party games, to visiting museums together. I mean, I'm leaving out a whole bunch of stuff. I mean, some of the worlds that we've seen are truly breathtaking. And as a result, and I should say that because I'm going as my own avatars or other avatars and with friends who also created their own avatars, there's something, communal isn't even the word for it. It's just something very, very, there's something very moving and connective about that space and having that with them every single week. There's almost a church aspect. Like I have to go out every Wednesday night.
Interesting.
Wow.
And we're not seeing each
That's
other.
amazing.
Like yeah.
Right.
Is that
right? So I think. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, Max. You go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
All right. Was that one of the videos that you sent? Was that experience with your friends?
That's right.
So I'm going to try to play that and see if you could elaborate a little bit more about
I'll speak to it. Yeah, that was fun.
Oh my gosh. What is this? God.
There's Kevin.
Hello.
Star Warsy. I love it.
Oh my gosh. What is this? This is that the baby Yoda?
So
Well, check
cute.
it out. Let's go up to it.
What is
Yeah,
this?
let's go see.
What is
Let's
it?
see.
Oh my god. What is this?
Yeah.
Guys.
Woo! Happy birthday, Scout!
We did it.
Oh,
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday. Oh my gosh. What is
We
this,
made
you
it
guys?
this
Oh
for
my gosh.
you.
You
We
made
did it.
this for me?
Can you click
Oh
it?
my
Use the-
that is so dope. Oh my god.
That was so fun.
So birthday parties in VR and surprise birthday parties in VR. It doesn't get much better than that, you know?
That's a surprise.
It was great. It was so much fun. That was only a few weeks ago. And Scout is, you know, one of the people who really initially inspired me in this. She was using Medium very early on. And so this was this beautiful, like, full circle thing of, like, being able to honor her and then also, like, make that baby Yoda cake was made in medium. I made her custom lightsabers in Gravity Sketch. You could pick up and play with that John programmed. So we all work together too. We collaborate together on things, and we were doing that on the side. Scout and Dylan are partners, so Dylan couldn't tell her what was going on. So we were like had our own clandestine Telegram group thread. We were like, okay, you get on Unity now, and we'll do this, and this, and that world was kit bashed and put together like in less than a few days. And it was such a joy to surprise her, because you could just, even as an avatar, I could tell body language wise, like how surprised she was, but also just how happy it made her.
Yeah, no, it's genuine. It comes across. She was like, "What the heck?
Oh my, is that the baby Yoda?" I just like the way she says.
I loved how the baby Yoda was like your portal.
Yeah,
Right?
that really got me surprised. I'm like, how did you code that, man?
That was
Man,
good. Yeah. That was a double surprise.
Right? Seriously. So that's the kind of geeky rabbit holes I get to go down these days. And so that encapsulates like why I love social VR so much. And it's a really cool way. I've been thinking about this recently without consciously doing so. It's a really cool way to make public art and make it truly accessible, because you don't necessarily have to have VR for VR chat. As long as you have a relatively good running PC, you can get into VR chat or Altspace for that matter.
Right.
Yeah.
But this wasn't using Altspace, right?
This was VR chat. Yeah, that's right.
Hey, I just wanted to give the audience a very quick reminder that if you leave a comment on whichever platform you are speaking or watching on, we will see it. So if anyone has a question for Kevo, just pop it in there and we'll get that answered. Jason Gluck says, Max, you didn't tell me you'd be with Kevo right now. He also says, OMG, yay. Mike Chapman from LinkedIn says, very exciting. And Estella says, so any questions you have for Kevo, feel free to just pop them right in there.
Yay, big hugs to you all.
So Kevo, I was wondering if you could speak to a little bit sort of how quarantine has been going for you. I know it's a big, deep question, but sort of how your relationship with VR and art especially has sort of, interplayed with the state of the world.
Yeah, good big questions for me today. Well, we spoke to this initially, right? When you were so graciously invited. Oh, I miss you too, Jason. I do. Big hugs, really. That resiliency was something that I wanted to talk to you about, because I know that you actually had a panel about that very subject, and I think that always comes up for me now because I saw this movie the other night. I highly recommend it. It's called The Sound of Metal. It's on Amazon. Stars Riz Ahmed. It's the premise, without giving too much away, is about a punk band drummer who is losing his hearing like rapidly, and his girlfriend and him have formed this band, and so he has to basically like relearn everything, and from the ground up in a deaf community and the whole bit. And it just makes me think about, what if I'm stripped of everything in my life, and what makes up my identity as a person, as an artist, as whatever you want to fill in the blanks with. And it's a really good prompt to sit with and to meditate with in this time, because I think we're all, by every possible metric, every one of us has lost something, has experienced some kind of loss, whether or not it's a family member. In my case, that's very true. Whether or not it's livelihood, being concerned about your loved one's health, which also is true in my case. All those things start playing into it. And then I think about what if I didn't have my art? What if I couldn't do those things anymore? What would I still be? And at the end of the day, I do think I would still be doing something in service. I'm not sure what that means, but I still would be doing something of service. And so I think about that a lot. Like that resiliency is very much linked to my identity, because, you know, we're sort of in this corner now where we're like, Riz Ahmed actually talked about this other day, where we're in an interview about where we're all kind of like shoulder to shoulder with mortality. As much as we don't want to think about that, we're very much shoulder to shoulder with mortality. So what is the seed of who you are when you're sitting right next to it? And so those are the things that kind of help channel what actions I take day to day. Does that answer your question? It's a really like abstract way to be able to answer.
Yeah, pretty deep. I appreciate you sharing that.
Definitely.
Yeah, thank you for that, Kevo. And you sort of, you know, communicate these thoughts and relationships through the art that you're making.
Yes, very much so. So that's actually that brings up to, I don't know if you have my other video. In fact, Mike Chapman speaks to it right now. Thank you, Mike. I saw recently VR artist sold her first NFT digital asset. Can you talk a little bit about NFT blockchain and potential influence on your work? And thank you, Estella. That's really kind of you to say that. So yeah, there's actually in the other video that I have, and you saw, it's the one with the kitty. If you show that piece,
Show
that
the kitty one. Hold on, let me see.
Yeah, because that's an NFT piece. That's in the intro of that.
Is demo real? Is the demo real?
My heart.
Touching.
I get chills every time I watch this.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, both of you. Yeah, I mean, you know, coming home is a very specific, like, again, channeling of my attention about talking about what is most important in our life right now. At least for me, it was talking about reunion with family and loved ones and friends, whoever it is that it means something to, returning home in some way. And a lot of people can't, you know, a lot of people can't see their families, or whether or not they're in other countries or for health reasons or underlying conditions. And to answer Mike's question, it actually kind of feeds into that. So I think he's talking about Anna Dreambrush, because Anna Dreambrush just sold a piece for a lot of Ethereum. And yeah, so I've been dipping my little toe into crypto art recently, and it's actually the bulk of the pieces. That's why I asked you to show that, because the bulk of those pieces are NFTs right now. A few of them have sold, and the one that I care most passionately about in there is that first one. It's an Elijah. It's actually an homage and a dedication to Elijah McClain, and there's this very viral photo of him playing violin for shelter cats. And so I created this scene using all VR tools to sort of have it's almost like a Totoro version of those cats, like a very giant version, and that cat is essentially keeping Elijah company. And you know, it's like he's nestled inside the cat in a way to sort of like, for me, it was a way to sort of perhaps bring his spirit back into the world, that kind of kindness that is still so rare, I feel. And I made that into an NFT piece, but with the express intention of donating all of the funds that I got from it to various charities, whether or not it was his own family fund. He also happened to be autistic, so there was a autistic people of color fund as well, and also the ACLU. So all that went straight to my thing with NFTs is actually, how do you build the philanthropic component into it?
Can you explain that for people who might not be aware?
Oh, so an NFT it means non-fungible token. I can still barely explain what that is. It is a pretty overwhelming scene, to be very honest. I think on the day-to-day, there are so many different platforms. So, there's, for example, if I've just named 3, Super Rare, Known Origin, Maker's Place, where you can actually sell your digital art that become saleable on the blockchain, essentially. So in my case, I had collectors who did buy a few of my pieces, and yeah, it's a really interesting. So when I said earlier about that I was sort of unconsciously making public art, I sort of try to balance that with what's happening with crypto. Like, how can I sort of do both of those things and sort of meld them into something that is its own, so whether or not it's the philanthropic side, and also the fact that I just love making art, and then what is the thing that I'm saying with the art? Those things, I want that to be a partnership in some way. So, so with the Elijah McClain piece, for instance, I actually made that into a VR chat world. And actually, I got really good feedback in regards from other artists in regards to, like, I don't think Elijah actually has to be in that world, and it's true that he doesn't necessarily have to be there. His spirit is very much in it, but it has provided a space for people to have their own meditation and their own space for remembering people they've lost. So that validates everything about the creation for me, and in ways that I couldn't even anticipate, because I was like, I know that I need to make it into a very safe space, but that's the beauty of making this kind of art, is that you don't really understand what purpose or space it has until it's publicly available. And so I think that's why I'm so passionate about this going forward, is how do I continue this stream of giving people safe space?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well,
I hope I answered that question, Mike.
Well,
I think you answered the question beautifully. Well done.
Yeah, I didn't notice, but we're at time here on our show.
We are at a time.
Yeah,
I know. Time flies.
So mind blowing. I didn't even realize it just went. I really want to thank you so much for sharing your artwork. And as always, I'm learning something new and amazing. So I just really appreciate your work and your art. I want to see more.
Well, I appreciate you all for having me. It's really my pleasure.
Yeah, thank you so much, Kevo.
Absolutely.
And for those watching, you can see Kevo's work or get in touch with him on Twitter at Kevo. You can find him on Instagram at Binkoland, or you can see his website, binkoland.com. So thank you everyone for joining us. Thank you, Edwin. Thank you, Kevo. And yeah, it's great to be back with Lunch Hour VR. So I hope to see you next Thursday.
Hurrah!